Hello and welcome to the Matthew Allton Art channel again. Sorry I've not been here for a little while. It's been a few weeks since I did a video last. The video that I'm hoping to show you today is a painting from a couple of weeks ago actually. You can see here on the screen that I've done a pencil sketch on some beige paper from my Stillman and Birn sketch pad. I've taped around the sketch using masking tape, and I'm going to do a gouache painting. It's in response to one of the fortnightly art challenges on the Patreon, as ever. That was sort of September landscape, and although these trees aren't fully autumnal coloured yet, I took the reference photograph on my daily walk round the War Memorial Park in Coventry at lunchtime, and then I used that reference photo to draw out the sketch that you can see here. Okay, so this is going to be a time-lapse video, and as I said, we're going to use gouache, so let's see how we get on. I wasn't actually going to post this as a video because I wasn't particularly happy with the end result of the painting, but I thought it was actually quite useful for people to see the sort of various qualities of gouache paint. And a good example of that is how I've started this painting now. So you can see that I've added some white for the bright background under the dark canopy, as it will be as the painting is finished. And that white paint is very opaque and covers the beige colour of the paper quite well, which you would never be able to do with watercolour, of course. So it sort of demonstrates that opacity quite well so far. I've then, after adding the white background, added a bit of the shadows under the foreground of the trees, and just hinted in a wash, which is very watercolour-like, the green canopy. I'm now sort of proceeding to add the trunks of the trees and the branches, the main branches at the top. This isn't a photographic copy of the reference photograph at all. I'm just trying to indicate the character of the trees, really. Much of the branches at the top you won't see anyway, because I'll be adding the foliage that's nearer to us in front of those branches, and they will cover most of the branches that you can see already. But you can see that I'm building this up layer by layer using thicker and thicker gouache. So I'm starting with sort of a watercolory wash colour, and beech trees have trunks that are sort of quite purpley and bluey, so I'm trying to indicate that here. They're in deep shadow, of course, because they're under the canopy of the trees themselves, and they're still in full leaf pretty much at this time. Just trying to indicate some of the finer details now on the trunks. There's some of the crevices and crooks and crannies of them, and the roots as they go into the soil as well. Now brightening up or darkening up some of those details. One thing I've said with gouache before is it dries much paler than it looks when it's wet. So they look quite dark, some of the branch details that I'm putting on here, but they actually do dry much paler. And that's a bit of a problem really, because obviously some of those branches right at the top, right under the canopy of leaves, are really black, to be honest. And it's very difficult sometimes to get black with gouache, because even a black paint, you know, ivory black or lamp black, when it dries is sort of a grey really. You can see at the moment in the branches there is still some of the lighter parts of the branches. There's still some of the brown paper showing through from the sketchbook. So it's very useful because it's opaque gouache, but it's also transparent when you want it to be, if you use it thin enough. So I'm now trying to put on the the leaves at the back of the trees, they tend to always be darker, unless the sun is shining brightly on them, of course, in which case they can look lighter. But in this case, the sun wasn't shining. And actually, I probably should have done these back leaves darker than I'm doing them, to be fair. One of the reasons why I don't like this painting in the end is because of the things that I got a bit wrong on it, but it's still useful for people to see the process, I think. And it's also important for people to see that not every painting that you do is one that you're happy with when you finish it. But it's a learning process, and hopefully things that you didn't like in the current work you won't do in the next work, sort of thing. One of the problems at this stage of the painting is that there is little light coming through the back of the tree. So I've done a bit too much green in the background there. I'll try and fix that later on, and we'll see that shortly. I'm now moving on to putting the leaves that are in front of the trunks. So, you know, a tree is round with a trunk in the centre. Some of the leaves are behind. Those are the ones I've already put on. And now I'm trying to put on some of the leaves that are in front of those trunks. So as I said, much of the branch detail will be covered by those leaves that are in front of the trunks and the branches. It's another good example of how gouache is opaque here, because I can put very light leaves. Some of the leaves are starting to turn in terms of colour. It's autumn, and I can put those in front of the very darks that I've done on the tree trunks there, for instance. And I'm just adding some varied colours, some bluey greens, because often tree trunks have sort of lichen on them, and that bluey green is very good for sort of showing the half highlights in the shadowed areas of trees. Again, you can see me darkening up some of the detail here, partly because it's dried paler than I thought it was going to. There's some light reaching the bottom of the trunks. I'm trying to indicate that with sort of acid green, yellowy colour. Just trying to put some more of the foreground leaves in. Some of them are darker, some of them are lighter. But as I'm adding these leaves that are in front of everything, you can see that somehow I seem to have made it very sludgy at the top. There is no light coming through those trees. They're very solid and dense, which there were a lot of leaves on the trees, but that isn't how it was in reality. Now trying to just indicate some detail of grass and leaves on the floor, you know, just some rough textures, and I'm moving the brush in different directions here. So I'm putting sort of upright strokes to indicate taller bits of grass here, using various colours, blending where I've to put the brown of the leaves under the trees. And here you can see I'm trying to rectify that very dense looking canopy of the trees here by putting white splashes amongst those leaves, and it's sort of half successful in that it lightens everything up again, but it's not done as it should be. But it very much demonstrates that you can put lights over darks in gouache, which you couldn't do in watercolour, for instance. And that sort of has broken up the density a little bit, but I think in a way it's overdone a little bit too much now. So, you know, you try and fix things and sometimes you don't make them better, but it's all about learning and trying to get better for the next one, really. Still trying to indicate some sort of faux detail in this foreground. I've been putting vertical strokes on, and now I'm putting horizontal strokes on over the top of that to indicate the undulations in the ground as much as anything else. So very quickly applied. that's it, pretty much finished. Again, I'm trying to darken up some of those darks because they've dried lighter than I wanted them to be. Well, this is the finished painting, and I've gone a bit overboard in terms of the sort of ridges in the tree trunks. They look a bit more like Grecian columns than tree trunks in actual fact. And also, as you saw in the painting process, I sort of overdid the density of the foliage at the top and tried to rescue that a bit, not particularly successfully. But I hope that you found it useful to see the sort of qualities of the gouache paints. You can still see that there's some of the beige showing through, even in the light areas. It sort of tints it to be an off-white sort of colour, so you can see some of the beige colour coming through. But it's really useful to be able to put opaque colours that aren't transparent, the lighter colours over the top of the darker colours, and this sort of painting demonstrates that quite well. Well, I hope you've enjoyed watching the video. Thank you for spending the time to watch it. I hope it was useful. There'll be some new videos coming a bit more regularly again after this one. I've been doing some life drawing sketching and also an oil still life that I've done sections of video recording for, so that all of those will be coming in the next couple of weeks. If you have liked the video, then please do give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here, then do consider subscribing. I'm afraid the viewing figures on the channel are going down. I'm obviously doing something a bit wrong here, but I would like to get those going up in a positive direction again. If you've got any suggestions about how I could improve the videos and make them more interesting, then please let me know in the comments below, and just comment generally about anything that you found useful or not useful in the video, and I'll try and take that on board for the next videos. Okay, thanks very much, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.